Hi guys, welcome back to another GGF video review. Today we'll be checking out this rather new board from Asus Republic of Gamers. It's the Maximus 6 formula. It's your standard ATX form factor. I won't get into too much on the box because this review, I've already done the review and it goes for about 40 minutes so far. So if you're interested on different parts of the review, I pretty much start off covering the board, what's in the box, then I move on to actually setting this up on an open test bench. I cover the cross chill. It has the MOSFET's water cooling and it can be air cooled, so I cover that as well. Then I cover the BIOS for about 10 or so minutes. After that, I don't actually do any overclocking. The CPU I have isn't a K version. We all know that these ROG boards are pretty much the best boards for overclocking anyway, so if you're after some specific features in the overclocking area, probably hit up some YouTube videos specifically for them, or head to the forums and that'll be your best bet there. Then after that, I have a look at the sound radar, which is a sort of new feature from Asus. It's a sort of in-game sound feature that detects where the voices and movement is coming from, and it shows a radar on your screen. So that's pretty much the review laid out. Just some other things to note. The audio is a Supreme FX Advanced chip. It is really, really good audio. I talk about that a little bit later on. And it also has your MPCIe Combo 2 card, which goes right at the top of your I/O shield, and that also features your AC wireless. Now, I'm not sure if any boards out at the moment have AC wireless. It's your brand new wireless. It's really, really fast, so make sure you check that out. And that also works as a mSATA combo port as well. So that's pretty much it for the intro. I won't spend too much long on this box. We'll jump in now and we'll see what's in the box and what the board looks like. Alright, so before we go over the board itself, we'll just go over the accessories box and see what actual bits you get with it. Alright, so first off you get 5 bags of SATA cables. There are 2 SATA cables in each bag, and they seem to be, in each bag you get one straight through to straight through cable like that, and then you get one straight through to a right angle end on each one, so they seem to be the same. So you get 10 SATA cables, which is good. They're all your SATA 3 spec as well. This little device here, that's your little external Wi-Fi, dual band Wi-Fi antenna, just there, so you can actually move that around. We might actually open that up and see how that looks like, just for people who actually want to use Wi-Fi. And then you just simply just bend it like that, and then it just sits like that, and that's your actual your antenna, where you'll pick up your range and all that from there. So it's good to have that included. We have your Republic of Gamers SLI bridge there. That just looks like a single slot one, or possibly a double slot one. It's not very long. Your standard Asus Q connectors. It's really good that these are now black. I never really liked the white ones because they never really blended in with anything. In this bag here, this is your sort of little mini PCIe combo that goes up in the top here. It plugs in the top, if you can just see that, and then that's where you can get your, actually it goes this way, that's where you can get your Wi-Fi antenna to connect in, or it also alternatively works as a mini PCIe port, so you can put in a little mSATA SSD can go in there, and you can add some extra storage, or you can have the Wi-Fi capability. So it's good to have that little extra added in. Also your standard Asus ROG manual like that. I don't really need to go into that. Your user guide. You've got your I/O shield, which is your standard Republic of Gamers. Doesn't light up or anything like some do. It's got your nice soft back on it for grounding and all that. So that's pretty much it. Actually, I'll take it out just to see. So that's there, and then it goes like that for your Wi-Fi up the top. Standard driver disc. This will come with all your apps. You may use the apps, but you can download everything yourself. It's probably best to get the latest drivers from the Asus website. You got this little door hanger, which is pretty sweet, just like a little extra bonus. You can add that. Do not disturb, champion in action. That's pretty cool. And then you get this nice little feature set of stickers, so you can label all your hard drives, optical drives, and you can also have these other stickers for your SATA cables and things like that. I don't know how many people would use them, but I guess if you're going to set up your build and not touch it for a while, you can probably use them. So that's it for the box, nothing else. So that's quite a few accessories you get there. Now we'll just move on to the board itself, and we'll start covering. I won't cover everything on the board. I'm just going to cover the main features. What I'll probably do is I'll probably take this the cover off just to show you the whole board itself and what it looks like under the board. Alright, so I've taken the top cover off. You can see the board much better now. You can see the audio on the left here. It still has the separated line that runs along. Not sure if you can see that too well. It doesn't light up because the cover goes over it. We'll just have a look at the cover itself. So the top part is a plastic, high quality plastic, sort of matte greyish colour. It feels really nice. And then if we have a look at the back is actually made out of metal. So this actually does add extra cooling capabilities to the back of the board, because it actually does touch the back of the MOSFET, so it does have some cooling there. It does look really good, so that's how it looks like when you flip the board upside down. It's just a shame that you're never going to see it. I guess some modders may be able to work in with the case to have a clear sort of right side panel to be able to see that, but it's a shame that you can't really see that, because that actually feels really nice. A really nice material, and it's done really well. So you've got your MOSFET cooling here, so you can do this air cooling or liquid cooling. I'm going to show liquid cooling and air cooling. I got a temperature gun. We can fire that up and we can see the different temps. I'll put some barbs in. I won't do that now. I'll put the barbs in once I get this cover back on, because we can go through and see if you can fit a 1/2 inch, 3/8. You can fit compression in all sizes, because sometimes compression fittings are a bit larger. So we'll be able to see what sizes we can fit in there. So these are just your standard 1/4 inch thread in there. So pretty much any of today's water cooling bits will fit in there. So we'll just quickly go over the board. We'll do the ports later on. So your EPS connectors on the top left, it's good that they're in the top left out of the way. You've got your 8-pin and your 4-pin. So normally 8-pin standard, so they've obviously whacked in the 4-pin for extra power, and you've also got a Molex right down the bottom here as well. So moving along, you've got your standard 2-digit post debug LEDs, so when you're booting it'll go through the codes and all that. They're pretty much standard on high-end boards. It's good to have. We've got your Z87 socket, your 1150, so this will do your 4th gen i3, i5, i7, and your Celeron processors. So I think I've got a 4400 or something to put in there to do our tests. Now you've got your dual channel DDR3. Now this will OC up to 3100 megahertz, which is pretty sweet. You're probably not going to need to go much higher than that. USB 3, which is good to see on the side. It's in a good spot. I'm surprised there's only one USB 3 internal header. I thought there may have been a second one down the bottom, but that's not a huge deal. We've also got your 24-pin ATX power connector there, so pretty much standard for Asus boards in that location. You got your nice Southbridge chipset cooler, your nice Asus logo. Now I believe that EK also now do a kit where you can swap this and the MOSFET cooler with one of their custom ones, and you can still use the cover. So once the cover goes on, the EK block fits nicely in there, and then you just got your 2 ports coming out of it. So that one does look pretty nice if you want to water cool the whole board as well. We've got 10 SATA all up, 2 rows of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I believe that there are 6 of the SATA are done straight via the Intel Z87 chipset, so that's good that there's all 6, and then the remaining 4 are just done by it's called an AS Media controller. So preferably you would want to use the 6 Intel first for your RAID configs and all that, and then your AS Media, probably leave them for just single drives and things like that. And then don't forget, we've also got our mSATA PCIe up the top here we can use. Moving down on the board, these are just all your standard ports, your front panel, all that. Don't need to go into all those. For your PCI Express combination, we have a full 16 by electrically and physically, that one there. And now these two here, they're 16 by physically, but they're only 8 by electrically. Now if you're running 1, 2, 3 cards all together in a SLI or Crossfire, bear in mind that this one will go down to 8 and these two will run at 4 by. It's not a huge concern because these are all running a PCIe Gen 3, which is still plenty of bandwidth, but just bear in mind that you won't be getting full 8 across all of them or all 16. You pretty much need a workstation board or things like that to get the full bandwidth. And then we just got 1, 2, 3 PCIe 1 bys. Now it's good that they are all open-ended. So if you're running a card that is slightly longer, say a 4 by card or an 8 by card, and you will want to run it in these slots, you can fit them in fine because there's a little notch in each end to slide that in. I'll just talk a bit about the audio. It's going to be hard to cover the audio in the review because you can't really hear it and things like that. So I'll just have to sort of go on my experiences with this audio I've had. It is the same audio as on the Rampage 4 Black Edition that was just released. And I have to say this is the best audio I have seen on a motherboard to date. It uses the Supreme FX chip. It's got 120 decibel signal to noise ratio, and it has a integrated 600 ohm headphone amplifier. And I paired these with a set of my AKG headphones, and it just sounds amazing. It'll save you having to buy a extra $200 or so sound card. You can just use it straight off the board, and it sounds really good. We'll have a look at fan headers. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all 4-pin, 6. So tons and tons of fan headers. That's really good to see. And then I also missed your start and reset button, and they'll probably glow up as well. So that's pretty much it for the main features on the board. We'll just have a look at the I/O ports and see what we've got there. Okay, so we can see that quite alright. So starting off from left, that's where your mSATA PCI Express card goes. We have your BIOS, that'll be your reset, and you've got your BIOS swap between BIOS 1 or 2. Now, it's good to see we've got a ton of USB. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 standard, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 USB 3. So that's a total of 10 USB just straight on the back. One problem I have with most all the board I've got now is I run out of USB. So it's great to have a ton of USB on the back. I don't normally like to use the headers on the board because then you're extending that and you don't always get the full power. So it's great to have that many on the back. We've got optical audio, we have HDMI, we have DisplayPort. They're both 4K ready, which is sweet. We've got Intel Gigabit LAN. It's great to see that they're now using Intel, and there's all your audio ports on there. So that's it for covering the board. I'll put this cover back on. I'll show you the back with the cover on. I'll show you the front. I'll put some barbs on it, show you the different barbs, and then I'll fire this up. We'll go through the BIOS. So it's going to have a pretty sweet BIOS, full UEFI. It'll look really sweet. I'm actually going to run this. I've got a Corsair H80i to do the CPU. That'll be on its own loop, and then I'm going to run the MOSFETs through their own dedicated loop just to show you how cool you can get them. And then I'll actually do them without the water first, get some temp readings, and then we'll put some water under it and see how it goes. So I got the cover and the backplate back on. We'll just have a look at the top water cooling parts that you get. So it's good that they come with these real nice rubber sort of caps. This isn't to stop the water or anything. This is just to, if you're using air cooling, it just makes it look good rather than just having the two holes like that. Like, mind you, having the two holes still doesn't look too bad, but it's still, it's just a nice way to finish it off. Alright, so this is just a standard 1/4 inch 3/8 barb, and as you can see, that fits fine. No worries in that one. It's going to fit, no worries in this one, I can tell just by that. I guess that fits fine in there. That's just a crystal link adapter. That's the same size actually as the barb. But what I've got here is a 1/2 inch compression fitting. So this is probably one of the largest fittings you will get. So it fits in fine on that one, no worries. But I'm going to have a little bit of concern on the other one. I think that this end here is just going to get in the way. So yeah, I don't think I can even get that on. So if we try and have a look at that, you can just see that it's just hitting that little design feature. So there's really no way, unless I guess if you're a modder, you could just remove that little line. But you'd be able to fit a 3/8 compression fitting, but just not a 1/2 inch. Like you could extend it, there's no big deal. You could just grab a little extender and stick it out like that. That's not going to be an issue. So for a couple of bucks you can fix it. It's just a shame that it didn't have sort of that in mind when it was done, but you can still get around it, no worries. Alright, I'll zoom out a little bit more and we'll just have a look at the back. So that's it now with the back plate on the back. You can see the whole sort of design, how it's done. It's just a shame that you're not going to see this at all once it's in the case. It makes it easy to work on a workbench. It's perfectly nice and flat. You got the nice Republic of Gamers logo and the name there, and that's it for the back. So I'm just going to fire this up now, put it in a system. I'll put it on a test bench, get it going, and we'll see how it performs. Alright, so I've had this running for about an hour, 2 hours now. Just doing random things, getting drivers up to date, putting some games on and that. It's running with the MOSFETs on air only, so it's just using passive air cooling from just the air around it. I've got everything hooked up, but there's no water in the actual system yet. So I got my little temp gun here, so if I just move that around the MOSFET area, see if we can get a shot on that. So if I hold it down, it just records the highest temperature. So I'll just move it all the way around there, try to get right in on the MOSFETs there. So it's getting, I think it hit 40. So if you look at that, 40.5 is the maximum it got to. So what I'll do now is I'll shut it down, get some water going through the system, and we'll see what temps it runs like for about after an hour or so. Alright guys, so I've got water running through the system now. As you can see, pretty basic setup, just a 360mm radiator, a pump res combo, and then I just got two right angle rotary fittings going on there. So you can pretty much design it however you like. And most people would have this in conjunction with their loop with, say, a CPU block and a VJ cooler, but I'm just doing an example purely on the cooling on the MOSFET. So this radiator is overkill for it, but it's sort of all I had, and it went in well with the theme. So and that's pretty much it for the system. Nice red theme. As you can see, everything just blends in really nice like that. So what I'll do is I'll go over the BIOS quickly. I won't go through everything. I'm not going to go through overclocking. Pretty much as I said at the start, these ROG boards, they overclock fantastically. I don't have a K series chip, so it's no real point showing you how to do overclocking on a non-K. So I'll just jump in, show you some of the other features in the BIOS, and I'll also go through, I've got it up in Windows, I'll show you a new feature called Sonic Radar. It's just some in-game audio feature. I won't spend too long on it, but I'll just show you some quick features of it and how it could be really good in the future. So we'll just jump into the BIOS. Alright guys, now we are in the BIOS. This is the first screen that you get once hitting the delete key on the keyboard. So this is your EZ mode, so pretty much gives you your best graphical interface, probably for beginners and for the people who sort of like sort of fancy moving parts. You got your temperature there, so we're currently at 31 degrees for the CPU. Voltage is also 1.024, that'll be your VCore as well for the CPU. So we also have the date, time, so currently everything's right, the date's right, the time's right, so that's all spot on. We've got your CPU, model, so it's an i5 4440. It's all at stock speeds, and we have 8 gigs of Corsair Vengeance memory. That's currently 1333 megahertz. It should be 1600, so moving down to the DRAM information, I should be able to enable XMMP, and that should pick up 1600. So yeah, so now it's 1600. If I reboot, it'll come up with 1600 there. So that's good that I found that out straight away. We got our languages here on the right, and we've got your CPU or your fan monitors and your control here. So you can see you got silent, turbo, manual, and then the other one, and you probably got more. Oh, there we go. So it actually drops down to more, which is pretty sweet. You probably can't do everything in the BIOS from this mode, but it's probably enough for most people. And now we've got some system performance options. So these are quite interesting. So we've got power saving, normal, or Asus optimal, and you can see that it changes this little pyramid sort of style to normal. It's sort of quiet performance, and energy saving is balanced, and then we've got power saving, and then we got Asus optimal sort of goes straight to the performance. So we'll just keep it at normal. And down below we've got boot priority. At the moment I just got one hard drive. When I had a USB stick in as well, you can drag which one you want first. And down below we got shortcuts. I'll go a little bit more into that in the advanced menu. You can make shortcuts for certain things. Advanced menu is down here, F7. I won't go into there yet. SATA information. It currently tells me my SATA ports are all empty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we've got boot options, and if I click on that one, it'll boot straight off that straight away. And then we've got defaults, F5. So I'll go into the advanced menu. Just one more thing before I go into that. It's actually really responsive. It's not laggy. I know some UEFI BIOSes are really laggy. This one's really, really smooth. You can do everything with the mouse. I just noticed you can change the date and time up here, which is good. I haven't had to do this, so it seems like the battery and all that in the motherboard is all good. So I'll go into advanced mode. I'll go enter advanced mode, yes. So I won't cover too much on this. The video is probably going to go for too long. If you want an overclocking video or an overclocking review, it's probably best to hit the internet. Check out some written reviews where they can just give you pages and pages of overclocking examples, different CPUs. As I said earlier, I've got a non-K CPU, so I won't really be able to overclock it all, so I'm just going to skip that part. Everyone knows that these ROG boards can overclock like hell. They're one of the best boards for overclocking, so I won't really go into that. So as I said before, my favorite. So I've already added a favorite up here. So what you do is you find something you like. It actually told me before, and you hold control, left control, and right click, and then it comes up with the menu. You can say add to my favorites page or add to shortcut. So I can just go down to say where's something more interesting to add. So say SATA config, SATA mode. I can add that to the favorites page. It's done it. Go back to favorites, and now we've got SATA mode selection. Probably you wouldn't need that on your shortcuts or sort of a home page. You probably more or less want something more like boot options or something you'd be using, maybe some overclocking features, but it's handy to have that as well. So with your extreme tweaker, so pretty much all your standard overclocking mode, auto, manual, XMP, you've got your BCLK, a multi-core enhancement, and you've got your core. So this is running a quad core, and then we just go down to all your sort of standard Asus overclocking features. I'll just go into some of the DRAM timing. So all of these you can change. Got your GPU. So it's come up with it's running at native mode. It probably should be running at 16 bar. I'm not sure why, but yeah, it says it's running at native 8. I'll probably have to change a setting to get that at 16. Let's see what else we got. All right, we got more about your DigiPower control. This is where Asus excels really well with all their power control and their phases. Tweaks Paradise. All right, let's have a look. Alright, so there's all sort of more voltage, everything like that, more sort of for your high-end overclocking. Most novice users won't really need any of that. CPU power management, turbo mode, Intel speed step if you want to disable turbo, disable speed step, things like that. And now some more of your voltages down here. I'm not going to touch any of these because I'm not going to do any overclocking. So that's pretty much it on Extreme Tweaker. If you're going to be checking out this board, you probably know most of these features, or you know how to overclock, because this is a board you'll be looking at. Over to the main features, this is pretty much, doesn't really have anything you can change, just all your BIOS information, your version, your iROG 1 and 2 version. It's got some security information, and you can add an administrator password and a user password. And we got your English there once again. Alright, so let's go to advanced. This is where we got your SATA control. Change your AHCI, RAID, all that. And then it's got all your SATA ports. And as I said before, 6 are controlled via the Intel chipset, and the remaining 4 are controlled by the, I believe, the As Media one as well. So actually we'll go back to back one because I clicked on advanced before. So CPU configuration, so this will give you all your options for your CPU, all your standard features here, adaptive thermal control, virtualization technology, VT. Most people won't need that. If you're running some VMs and all that, you can enable that. Okay, CPU power management configuration. So this is your turbo mode, so this is in here again, and Intel speed set, which is here again, so it's just duplicated as well. Let's go back. PCH, PCI Express configuration is there, your Intel Rapid Start technology, and then you've got your Smart Connect technology there. Moving down, I just covered SATA before. We've got system agent configuration, so you got your graphics, VTD more virtualization technology there. Graphics configuration, so we've currently disabled the onboard because we're running a dedicated Asus card. Northbridge configuration has that, and then we got your different settings you can do, so it's good that it shows you what's running in what. Memory configuration there. USB config, let's see, legacy USB, that's good, so we can use the USB keyboards out of Windows and things like that. USB single port control, so we can, that's pretty sweet how you can enable or disable any USB port in the system. It's good to see that. Let's go back a bit. Platform miscellaneous configuration, PCI Express native power. For enhanced power saving mode, we'll leave that as default. It's pretty good how it tells you on the right. Everything comes up with this little sort of help menu. So if you're not quite sure, so as you can see, this option here enables or disables the HD audio. Bluetooth controller can enable the Wi-Fi. As I said at the start, this has AC wireless, which is the latest wireless technology, so it's great that it's got that on this board. Intel Gigabit LAN, I was doing some copying before from my server, and I was maxing it out at about 110 megabytes a second, which was really good, so that was running sweet. APM control, this is your power management. You can set if your system goes out, it can turn on by itself and things like that. Network stack configuration, and just enable, disable that, nothing too fancy there. And ROG effects, so we got the ROG pulse, we can enable, disable the onboard LED and the ROG logo LED, so there'll be your LEDs on the motherboard. It's good you can change them, you can probably turn them, yeah, you can turn them off. Some people don't like a lot of lights. I do like the lights. I reckon they look sweet. Moving over to monitor, we got voltage monitor. All your voltages there. I don't really need to go into that. Pretty easy to understand there. And we've got temperature monitor. So let's see, our motherboard's running at 34 degrees. Your CPU's at 32. And these ones are probably contact points, or you can add sensors. VRM 1, 2, and 3 are 31, 28, and 25. So I am underwater at the moment with the MOSFETs. I'll actually take a temperature reading with my temperature gun in a minute. The system's been on for a while, so we'll be able to check the temps. Fan speed monitor, I've disabled the CPU fan because I'm running a cooler, water cooler that's not using it because it was coming up with press F1 every time I booted, but it's good that you can ignore them or disable them. And then fan speed control. These are the Asus features I really like. You can enable, disable the Q fan, you've got all your different RPM modes, you've got your different profiles, so unlimited amount of options for all your onboard headers that are around the motherboard. Okay, moving on to boot. So I've got fast boot, SATA for all devices, USB devices for all, support everything. Hardware fast boot is currently disabled, and then we just got, you can display the ROG logo. It's got a pretty sweet ROG logo that starts up when you boot as your post screen, which looks really nice, and then just all your other standard boot options. So we've got our Seagate as the first boot device there. It's the only one, and then you can change whether you want advanced mode or EZ mode. That's pretty good for us, so advanced people can just go straight into this mode rather than going into the fancy screen that starts up. And there was some more things at the very end. So we got the flash utilities for upgrading your BIOS, your SSD secure arrays for erasing SSDs, overclocking profile, you can set different ones, Asus, your DIMM information, and your ROG panel H key configure for your ROG OC panel if you've got one connected. So that's pretty much it for the BIOS there. And when you exit, you just got your load optimized defaults and just your standard things like that, and I can go back into the EZ mode from here. So that's pretty much it with this BIOS. Fairly advanced. Pretty much you'll get this on most of your latest Rampage boards or your Republic of Gamers boards, your Maximus Extreme, and your Formula boards. So I'm just going to fire up into Windows, have a look at this sonic sound mode for your games, and we'll see how that goes. Alright, so we're back in Windows. Before I fire up this sonic radar, we'll just have a look at the temps now. So the board's been running about the same amount of time as I took the temps with the non-water cooling, just the passive air cooling. We'll just actually get down a bit and have a look. So at the moment, so that's saying 28, 29, 27. If I get right down there, it's about 29.9. So 30 degrees that they're running at now. So that's about 10 degrees difference, and I'd probably say that the ambient temperature now is it may even be a little bit hotter than it was earlier today. So it's actually has actually done really well. 10 degrees difference on there. So you can just imagine how good that would be doing once you're overclocking and things like that, where you need extra power, and it just keeps this whole area much cooler. There's just no heat at all around here. It's just super cool. So you pair this with a really good CPU cooler, you're just going to have no heat coming off your board at all. And then there's your 28 degrees. Alright, so we'll go into this sonic radar now. I'll just quickly go over this. There's quite a few videos on YouTube about this and on the Asus website. Some people like it, some people don't. It's just a matter of your personal choice. So what it does, it's only on some of these latest Asus boards. It interprets the sound from within the game, and it puts a little radar on your screen on where that sound is coming from. So there's not many games, like I just use Black Ops because that's one of the games that it uses. I do believe there will be more games coming out in the future. We might just zoom in so we can get a shot on that. So that's how it looks there, sonic radar. So that's what your radar looks like when it's on the screen. We've got generic mode, battle mode, Black Ops mode, which I'll use, and then we got radar selection, so we can have it for just all threats, footsteps, voice range, or when you hear a gunshot. So we'll do all, and we can click this little cog here, and we get some more options. So I can do my radar position. I might put it right down, sort of off to the left if it's in Black Ops down there. And you can assign all your hotkeys to your opacity and how bright or how transparent you want it and things like that. I'll just remember those left. So we got left control, left alt, and the subtract. So alright, so I'll remember that and we can test it out and see how that looks. So that's just minimize that now. We'll start up Black Ops. I'll let this load and then we'll see what it looks like. So you can see in the bottom left hand corner we've got the radar overlay running. At the moment this TV is just set up in stereo, so it's not going to get the whole effect of the 3D surround, but if you enable the 5.1 virtualization mode, you actually get the full 360-degree sound. So you can see it just pulling the sound from the center. I'll just get a zoom in on that. And then if I do the hotkeys to make it more transparent, we can see it, so you can have it just a little bit like that. And then I can also change it to do a little bit more as it was before, or so you can see how the cars went past me. Yeah, you can definitely see how the lines change to where the sound is going. So some people may like it, some people might not. I guess for professional gamers, I guess it's going to be hard to be looking down at this screen the whole time, down the left-hand corner. You could put it directly in the center of your screen, but I guess once you pair it with headphones and have this at the same time, it's probably going to be an advantage. The only issue at the moment is they just don't support very many games. I guess once they get some more games out, it's actually going to be a really, really neat feature. So this is just something that comes with this board, something I wanted to test out. It looked like an interesting feature. So I thought I'd show you guys just some of the extras you get with these Asus boards. So that's pretty much it for the review. It was a little bit long, but I just wanted to do a really good in-depth coverage of all the features of this board, and that really wasn't including any overclocking. So you can imagine if I did add the overclocking in, it just would have gone way, way too long. So overall, really happy with this board. As you can imagine, Republic of Gamers, they do the best boards out there. The water cooling works really, really well. If I was to do overclocking on that, it would work even better. The sound is great. Having the AC wireless is a great feature, and all that. As I said, standard ATX form factor, it'll work in pretty much any standard ATX case, just not your really, really small cases. So that's pretty much it. Just want to thank Asus for setting out this board. If you're interested in checking out this this board in the flesh, this will be going in a Cooler Master half stacker system, and this will be being displayed at the next GGF event in February. So I've also done a review on the Cooler Master half stacker, so this is what will be going in it. So come along and check it out, and I want to thank Asus for sending this board, and thanks for watching, and stay tuned for next time.